All right, let's dive right into one of the most powerful tools in consumer psychology, the IKEA Effect. We're going to break down exactly what it is, see how it works on a psychological level, and most importantly, look at how the world's smartest brands are using it to create value, not in a factory, but right inside your own mind.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its core, the IKEA effect is this weird quirk in our brains where we fall in love with things we helped build. The name comes from a team of researchers, Michael Norton, Daniel Mochon, and Dan Ariely, who basically prove that the effort we put into making something directly cranks up how much we like it and even what we think it's worth. Now, from a high-level marketing perspective, this isn't just some funny human habit. It's about strategically using what we call sweat equity. The big idea here is that a product's value isn't a fixed number. It's something that can be shaped. And savvy brands do this by getting you, the consumer, involved in the creation process. It's a huge shift, right? We're moving away from just selling convenience to engineering a sense of personal achievement. And see, this process totally changes the game. It transforms your whole relationship with the product. You're no longer just a passive owner who bought something off a shelf. You become an active creator. That simple act of putting something together or customizing it turns what was just another object into a personal trophy. It's a real, tangible symbol of your effort. And that psychological switch, that's where the magic and the value really happens. So what's actually going on in our heads to make this happen? Well, there are two big psychological engines at work. First, there's psychological ownership. When you put in the work, you're building a story that connects you to that item. It's not just a bookshelf anymore, it's your bookshelf. And second, you've got the confidence loop. You know, that little rush you get when you finish a tricky task? That's a dopamine hit. And your brain, without you even realizing it, connects that awesome feeling of I did it directly to the brand. And this idea proves a really important point. Making things easier isn't always better. Take the Betty Crocker story from the 1950s. Their instant cake mixes were actually failing at first because they were too easy. It felt like cheating. So what did they do? They made one tiny change. They made you add an egg. That one little step made all the difference. Suddenly, it felt like real cooking, and people were so much prouder of the cake they made. It's the perfect example of how a tiny bit of meaningful effort can make a huge difference in how we value something. You know, IKEA's founder, Ingvar Kamprad, built a global empire on this exact idea. He just got it. He knew that when you put a piece of yourself, your time, your focus, your effort into building something, you are literally embedding your own value right into that object. This brings us to a really fascinating, almost counterintuitive concept. Friction can be a feature. I mean, most designers are obsessed with making everything seamless, right? But the smartest strategists know when to add a little bit of friction back in. Think about it. In medicine, just the ritual of grinding a pill can make it seem more powerful. Or how about travel websites? They often add a little delay to their search to make it seem like they're working really hard for you. It makes you trust the results more. It's a deliberate and brilliantly effective strategy. Okay, this matrix here really breaks down how brands put this into practice. You've got your classic DIY assembly, like flat pack furniture, which builds that sweat equity. Then there's empowered customization, think Notion templates or car configurators, which fosters creative ownership. Pick your own farms, use the labor of picking your own fruit to build trust and justify the price. And finally, you have outcome-based friction. This is what meal kits like HelloFresh do so well. They reinforce an identity. You're not just cooking dinner, you're becoming a chef. So if you wanted to do this yourself, how would you start? Well, here's a quick 4-step playbook. 1. Introduce small, manageable tasks where users can participate. 2. Use things like 3D visualizers to let people feel like they're the architect. 3. Tap into user-generated content like templates or designs to build an ecosystem of co-creation. And 4. Tell a story around the effort. It's not a chore, it's a sign of quality and personal care. And this quote from a Sage marketing analyst just hits the nail on the head. The work itself isn't really the point. The point is the powerful feeling of ownership that the work creates. That feeling is everything. It's the key to unlocking a much deeper, more loyal customer. But, and this is the critical part, there is a very, very fine line here. This whole strategy depends on getting the amount of effort just right. So the big question every brand has to ask is this: where's that tipping point where helpful effort just turns into pure, hair-pulling frustration? And here's how you get it totally wrong. If you make the task too hard or confusing, you hit the abandonment threshold and people just give up.
If you give them low-value labor, boring, tedious work with no rewarding outcome, it just feels like a pointless chore. And on the flip side, if their contribution is too tiny, they don't feel any real investment, and so they don't get that sense of pride. The effort has to feel like it matters. Now, if you want to see a modern company that has absolutely perfected this in the digital world, you have to look at Notion. They have built their entire platform on the foundation of the IKEA effect. Here's the genius of it. Notion doesn't just hand you a finished product. It gives you a really sophisticated set of Legos. Users pour hours and hours into building their own perfect dashboards, their own unique workflows, and that is pure digital sweat equity. This creates such a profound sense of ownership over their system that the idea of switching to a competitor becomes almost unthinkable. Why? Because it would mean throwing away something they poured their own creativity into. Marketing guru Rory Sutherland really captures the essence of all of this perfectly. The IKEA effect is the ultimate proof that value is, at its heart, psychological. It's not just about raw materials or how something is made, it's about the story, the effort, and the personal meaning we attach to things. Value is absolutely created in the mind, just as much as it is in any factory. And we'll end with this powerful thought, again from Rory Sutherland. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with making everything frictionless, seamless, and effortless. But the IKEA effect teaches us an incredibly valuable lesson. Sometimes the smartest, most strategic thing you can do is the complete opposite. Adding just the right amount of friction might be the secret to creating real, meaningful, and lasting value.